And welcome to the Tom Clark Weekly Speed Report. I'm your host, Tom Clark, along with co-host Corey Carroll and Colton Jacobs, here to bring you weekly insight on all things NASCAR, with a review of past week's races and a preview of upcoming events on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series schedule. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at TCW Speed Report and email us your questions at tcwspeedreport@gmail.com. And I would like to welcome my co-hosts for the evening, Corey Carroll and Colton Jacobs.
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
What's up?
Not much. My blood pressure a little bit after watching that race.
Why's your blood pressure up?
From watching the race,
From watching the race, yeah.
Well, what about the
It
race?
could be all those like biscuits you just ate.
I had a country ham biscuit at Bojangles, which is probably the saltiest thing you could get. But
Yeah.
my blood pressure is also up because, man, that 4-car,
Unbeatable.
absolutely unbeatable. If this was a short track and I was a race car driver, I'd be getting out of the car protesting, putting down my $200 saying, hey, that car's illegal.
It was really fast. Nobody had anything for it, really.
I mean, absolutely not. I mean, he led 224 of the 312 laps. I mean, that is a chunk right there.
Yeah.
He's got the all-time wins at Phoenix, which I heard the biggest flub up of the week. Mike Joy said, after Kevin Harvick did his burnout, Harvick International Speedway's all-time winner. And then it quickly cut to commercial.
I didn't catch that one.
Well, might as well name it that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he had in mind.
It's not like anybody else was out there racing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know. I slept through most of the race. That's what happens when you see the same car going in circles, leading the field all day. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I fought the tired eyes for quite a bit.
Tom, this is going to be a short podcast, I think.
Very short, which is what we're aiming for. Jamie McMurray and Ryan Newman and Casey Kane, a lot of those guys played the pit strategy to their advantage. We didn't see a whole lot of tire fall off. A lot of guys took right sides only and were able to hold the lead for a good while, especially Brad Keselowski in the first third of the race.
There was quite a bit of fall off on Sam Hornish Jr.'s car and Dale Jr.'s car and Tony Stewart's car. Those tires fell off like completely.
Well, let's talk about Dale Jr. Kind of struggled all race long, probably all weekend, but he got up to 8th, and the car was just so loose he melted the bead on the right rear tire.
That was just like, that was a win in itself, cracking the top 10 the way his car was running today. But the way his luck was going, just the tire going down, Corey looked at me, said, when Mike Joy said caution, Corey said he knew it was going to be Dale Jr., and of course it was.
I think it. I don't think it was. I don't think he wore the right rear because of the looseness. I think it was actually it melted the brake temperature, melted the bead, which would be more indicative of a tight car than a loose car. So I think what happened was the brake temperature melted the bead. It blew the tire, and then his automatic fire extinguishers went off in the car, and that's why he couldn't get back out there, because you can't go back out on the track without those.
Yeah, but when that tire let go, I mean, you know, it's the 88 is working well with Greg Ives. I mean, that combination's obviously working good. DW even pointed out, you know, when Junior is cutting up with the crew chief and cutting up with the crew, he's having fun, and that's when he's at his best.
Well, that wasn't what he said, and what he said was kind of asinine. Who knew? But he said when Junior's cutting up on the radio, that's when he's having fun.
And then I thought I heard that when he's having fun, he's at his best.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, you were right on that.
Okay,
but you were right too, Corey. He said both the things.
Okay, I thought he just implied it.
No,
that he was at his best. I just heard when he's cutting up on the radio, that's when he's having fun, and I'm like, well,
obviously.
Sure, yeah.
They talked about Kyle Larson like he was anything he did, he was going to get up there, and he was the only one that could. I mean, they like you said, Corey, the hype about Kyle Larson is a little bit too much for me. We saw Joey Logano lead. Man, his nickname is the Fader. Darth Fader.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Joey Logano.
Joey. Oh yeah.
Because I mean, he's always up front. Either starting on the pole or started second at this race, and he got mired back in traffic and never really could get back up to the front. Martin Truex Jr. finishing 7th. I mean, that's 4 consecutive top 10s for that team. And Kurt Busch, they kept talking about it. Obviously, it's been a big story for the past month and a half. NASCAR lifting his suspension and also Chevrolet lifting their suspension of Kurt Busch. He did what he had to do, and, I mean, to come back not having driven a race car since Daytona and finish 5th, that shows that he's pretty talented.
Isn't the waiver a little ridiculous?
I read a little bit up on it, but I'm not clear on what the exemptions are to make the chase.
Apparently, you can get a waiver if you've just missed any sort of races. Apparently, that's all that has to happen. Because there's this rule you have to start a number of races or whatever, unless you have a waiver. And from what I understand, the waiver was under incredible circumstances. And so I don't understand. I mean, he missed the first 3 races of the season, and he's going to get a waiver.
Well, and I think the subject matter of why he missed the races is important too. I mean, if you have somebody like a Brian Vickers who has a medical reason, I'm supportive of a waiver in that situation. And he just missed 2 races, or was it 3? 2.
Yeah, first 2 races.
Yeah, but I mean, Kurt Busch, I mean, he missed races because of possible criminal charges. I mean that.
Well, they gave Tony Stewart a waiver last year. He missed 3 races, and when he came back, they said he was chase eligible if he won a race.
I guess my question would be, to piggyback off what Corey said, is what type of situation is there where a waiver would not be granted at this point?
Well, it seems like there's really no set in stone procedure on that, given the situation with Kurt Busch. I mean, he's obviously been waivered to be chase eligible. I think I read where he has to at least finish in the top 30 in points, and then maybe hopefully score a win, and he's in. But something that that I kept talking about last year was that if we get more than 16 winners before the chase starts, then it will come down to multiple wins and points positions.
We won't have that, not this year.
It doesn't seem like it.
No, because we're only going to have 4 winners.
And I think
the theory is back.
And just to point out, Jimmy Johnson was racing hard with Gordon and Logano. Had a bad qualifying run to begin with on Friday. Didn't advance from the second round, and he finished 11th. Do you think the reign of Knaus and Johnson is over?
No.
No. As long as they're on the track, it's not over.
Okay.
I mean, just you might have Harvick dominating every week, but never count them out.
Are we asking this because he finished 11th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm glad he did.
God, he didn't lead every lap. Is this the end?
I mean, and that's I found myself thinking like, I'm sitting here thinking Harvick, the one dominating every week, and then they showed Jimmy a couple times, and I'm like, I'm not sitting there. And what was it, DW or whoever referenced that stupid golden horseshoe thing they have to talk about all the time
that Kevin Harvick ultimately found.
Yeah, from Jimmy Johnson. But
I mean,
I hope he cleaned it off before he used it.
Yeah.
Will they be, will they be what they were at one point? Probably not, but them being not as good as they were is still better than most everybody else.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they probably won't go win 6
more in a row.
Yeah, or whatever, but
I mean,
they'll still win 3+ races from now until the near future. I mean,
yeah,
it's going to happen.
From now until one of them dies or something.
Jeff Gordon, he stopped the bleeding. Finally, got him the top 10.
It's because you didn't pick him.
That's right. I'm not going to pick him. The Toyotas were. They kept talking about how slow the Toyotas were. Again, it's still early in the season. Now, I have got two differing opinions on the rules changes thus far. I heard Larry Mack's and I heard Jeff Hammond's. Now, I kind of want to. I give Larry Mack more credit than I do Jeff Hammond any day. But one, Larry said, give it more time. But Hammond said, there's not enough happening thus far in the season with the rules changes. Do you think anything would be any different if we were running last year's rules?
No, because Harvick won last year.
Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of what we thought it was going to be, and it's just
it may not, it may not be the best for this track specifically, but I think on most tracks the new rules are going to be better.
We did see the groove move out a little bit, so there wasn't as much single file racing. Some guys, I mean, we even saw Kurt Busch go around the outside of Martin Truex Jr., I think it was.
Yeah.
4 fresh tires, of course, but
and it's crazy to see him cut that dog leg like they do. Sometimes you see that car bouncing up and down. That
it's dangerous territory when drivers decide to go down there.
Yeah, they even did like a little segment on it during the middle of the race.
And how about old Danica Patrick? Thought she was going to stay on the lead lap the whole time, but her and Allgaier. My theory is that Allgaier said, I don't want to be guilty by association by running back here with her, so I'm going to wreck her.
Well,
it wasn't Allgaier.
Yeah, it was David Reagan.
Sorry, David Reagan.
He didn't wreck her. He tried to go into pits to avoid her, and she came down. She just, she don't know what she's doing.
Exactly.
She needs to go, as my dad says, take a nap.
Exactly. So, that wraps up our review of the CampingWorld.com 500 at Phoenix International Raceway, and we're going to go over our weekly weirds for the week.
The good old weekly weirds.
They were back in session.
And to clarify, the weekly weirds mainly is the stupid stuff that the announcers say. That's what that is.
Thank you for clarifying that for the listeners.
So the weirdest thing, this is okay. I've been watching NASCAR on Fox for 14 years. I've never heard Larry Mack mention a driver and then not mention his number afterwards. So, I mean, we're talking like Bobby Labonte in that 18 car. I mean, this is how far that goes back.
Yeah.
He did it today. He said Joey Logano and didn't mention what car he was in.
I bet as soon as he said Joey Logano, he bit his lip real hard.
There was a noticeable pause. He said Joey Logano around the outside.
There was. Corey mentioned it to me, and I had to rewind it.
But he couldn't totally not say it. He was like, Joey Logano around the outside in that 22 car.
Yeah.
So he tried. He just couldn't.
He couldn't do it. And Skosh, I'm gonna hire a team of scientists to determine what a quantifiable amount of a Skosh is.
Is that a real word? Can we look that up? Can we look at if Skosh is a word?
Yeah, I can look that up.
It can't be longer than mayonnaise.
Obviously not, because mayonnaise has one extra syllable.
DW said he don't know any words longer than mayonnaise. I don't.
How do you
weird
spell Skosh?
SCOSE or
SKOSH.
No,
Skosh.
I say SCOCE.
Okay, I found it.
Okay.
SKOSH. A skosh is a noun. It's slang. It means a bit or a jot. Example: we need just a skosh more room. Which that must be a quote from DW.
Now, did it say where the slang derives from? The Southeast?
Nope. Oh, hold on. Here it is. Origin. It's Japanese. Sokoshi.
Well,
I didn't know there were many Japanese in Owensboro, Kentucky.
that blows my mind.
Yep, Sukoshi.
Så kanske jag ser så på det. What ser Toyota?
It's racially insensitive, Tom.
No, it's not.
Tom's Asian. He can do that.
That's exactly. I have the right to do that.
That's true.
And Mike Joy's invisible blanket seems to get bigger and bigger every week because at Atlanta, it was 4 cars under a blanket. They hadn't even taken the green flag after a caution, and he said there's 8 cars under a blanket. I don't know where this blanket's coming from. I can't see it, but man, it's getting big.
It's like a tarp you use to cover like the infield at a baseball game.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I'm waiting for him back at Talladega, but that's 43 cars under a blanket. He'll do it.
That's the biggest blanket I've ever heard of.
No.
So those are the 3 weekly weirds I could think of.
Yeah, that's about it. One thing that was kind of weird that Phoenix was packed.
Yeah, it was officially sold out.
Yeah, that's.
You know how those West Coast lefties are. They love anything that's different.
Hipsters.
Hipsters.
I'm still a proponent of Phoenix being traveled to once a year by the circuit.
I'm a proponent of being traveled to no times a year.
Oh, come on.
Listen, if it were up to me, I'd have every race in the Southeast.
Well, if it were up to me, and I know we've talked about this before, every track except for the short tracks and the super speedways would all get just one date a year.
I agree with that as well. Because
I did my own little schedule, and it would equal to be around about 30 races. That's a good even number. Not that 36 isn't an even number.
In that schedule, did you bring back any tracks?
2 races at North Wilkesboro and 1 at Rockingham.
That's a good schedule.
Yeah.
That's a real good schedule.
Replace the North Wilkesboro's would replace 1 Texas race and 1 New Hampshire race, and Rockingham would replace the 2nd Kansas race. That's how I figured it out.
You took away the October Charlotte race?
I did, only to, it's hard to get the same people's money year after year after year. And for that schedule that I made, those North Carolina races were pretty spread out. So if you lived in North Carolina, you could pick, let's go to Rockingham this year, or let's go to Wilkesboro this year.
Well, I think there's a big marketing factor in the October race more than anything because Bank of America sponsors that race, and they're, headquartered in Charlotte. So they can't sponsor the spring race because Coca-Cola has that. So if they're wanting to sponsor a race, they got to have a race in Charlotte in October.
Okay.
And that Bank of, that's a big sponsor. So
it is.
I just, I feel like one race for Charlotte, if it wasn't for sponsorship, would be good because they could start filling turn 2 up again. Because the past few times I've been to Charlotte, it's not even been open. It's just
they're gone now. So
yeah, the theory being that
you'd have to look through the fence.
Well, okay, yeah.
This is all hypothetical and in a perfect world, but the theory being that you would create more demand for the event when it came to town. Mm-hmm. Hey, we can't miss this. It's the only time we get a shot to go. So, but we're going to preview the Auto Club 400 at Auto Club Speedway of all places.
Yeah.
This is a track I wouldn't mind seeing. As Corey said, no races at all.
This is very much a driver's track, kind of like Michigan. Although I like Michigan better, like the drivers really love the multiple grooves and all the space that they have and the speed and everything. It's not as fun to watch as a fan on TV, but the drivers really like it. So
I will give it that we have had some pretty exciting finishes the past few races.
Yeah. The Auto Club. It's California Speedway.
Yeah.
Fontana, whatever. Like they've really upped their game. Just out of luck, coincidence, really. Nothing created that, but the finishes have been better. But those are anomalies. That not going to happen very often.
I do feel that because of the reduced horsepower and the shorter rear spoiler, I feel that we will see another late race charge by somebody. Most likely after Kevin Harvick I would have liked to, if Kyle Busch were in the car for this weekend, I think he would be a strong contender, but obviously he's not.
Well, I mean, and I know you guys hate the hype, but Kyle Larson made that charge last year, finished second. Do you think you might see a repeat performance top 5 from him?
Possibly a top 5, but I don't. I'm tired of waiting on Dylan, Larson.
Now, I'll give Larson more credit with the way he's been racing than Dylan, because though Dylan finished all the races last year, I believe he finished all the races last year, it's his average. He finishes like 15th every week or 16th, and at least Larson will get up there, and he's gotten some top 5s, some top 10s, and a runner-up finish last year. I mean, he's up there battling with the big boys.
Talented driver, no doubt, but I'm waiting on this generation of even Stenhouse, which we obviously know why he's not winning.
Yeah. Well, just give it some time, because we were, everybody was saying the same thing about Logano, and look at him now. He was young. You didn't know. He was just barely making his way through, and
he got a different ride.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I think maybe this.
And also, let's remember that these kids are 21, 22-year-old. Like, that's way younger than rookies have ever been. I mean, when Dale Sr. came in and started driving full time, he was 28 years old.
Yeah.
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 And so, just age and experience has so much to do with all that. I don't expect Chase Elliott to come in and light the world up either. He may be better than these guys, but he's
That's a good point. Also being that the days of guys like Dale Earnhardt Sr. of actually having to work your way to get a ride, I think are long gone. They're breeding these guys in test tubes and labs basically. So
yeah.
So giving our preview of the Auto Club 400 at Auto Club Speedway, we go to our fantasy picks for Auto Club. So I'm not paying attention to the rules. You have to tell me who's going first.
Well, Tom, you're last, so you get
because I won, right?
What? No, you're last place in the points.
Oh,
whoever's last in the points goes.
I
but
see.
We did reconfigure the points. It's scored just as NASCAR scores it for the drivers.
And Corey has taken over the points lead.
Yeah,
congratulations! Woo! Tight battle up there for the top 2 spots.
for the top 2. You're way behind.
I mean, I pretty much got that wrapped up.
53 points behind.
53 points behind. I can make that up.
You're 53 points
behind second.
Behind second,
yeah.
Yeah.
Add another 11. We were looking at 64. So, so I guess I'm going first because I'm last in last points.
Yep.
I'm going to go with a man.
Are you?
So not Danica. We know that.
So not Danica. I am going to go with a person that I have picked earlier in this season at Atlanta. I'm going to pick Mr. Denny Hamlin. I think he kind of has like some redemption because of him and Logano getting into it, and obviously Denny getting his back hurt. Pretty horrible crash. I think that place owes him one, so to speak, and I think he'll get up on the wheel.
Yeah, and it was Mike Joy or BW. I can't even remember who says anything, but somebody in the booth mentioned that it was the 1-year mark of Gibbs' last non-plate win.
Yeah, so I think they know that, and they'll put all the eggs in the basket.
All right, well,
Colton,
I'm gonna play it smart here and go with. I'm gonna stay on my trend. And I'm gonna pick Kevin Harvick because he's just gonna he's gonna keep knocking off these top 2 finishes, and he's gonna get the W again, 3 in a row.
Okay.
All right. So my theory is still active.
And there's one of those.
I'm really excited when it's going to become a law of physics because. That'll just be a special moment in my life.
Can you remind us what the theory is again?
That only a Penske driver or Jimmy and Kevin Harvick will win a race this year. Only
This
those
whole
4
year.
drivers.
Okay.
Am I wrong so far?
No,
You're
Okay.
not wrong.
but we're still early in the season.
So, in that case, then I will go with Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Boo!
So no Penske cars this week between us.
No, because Daytona 500 carries that omen of being bad the rest of the year, and so Logano. Just a quick question, as we were talking about earlier. After Fox's coverage of the season ends, I don't know if we'll have a source for Weekly Weirds.
Yeah, I was talking with Corey about that. It's going to be a lot tougher to find, but I don't know. We'll figure something out because I think they'll have somebody, like a Larry Mack or something.
If they do have a source for Weekly Weirds, my personal opinion, it will come all from Rick Allen. Because when he gets excited, he flubs up his words quite a bit.
They could have somebody like Larry Mack on there. It'll be like Hard Hat Harry or something. Bring him on there. Bill Nye. Some sort of like cartoony guy for kids who says dumb stuff.
Digger.
Oh gosh, please don't bring him back.
Rocco.
Just the thing about Rick Allen, I don't know how many truck races I've seen where like they were wrecking at the finish, and only 15 minutes later did he mention who actually won the race. Or sometimes he's even called out the wrong name as the actual winner across the line. So it'll be interesting to see.
He's going to have to up his game. So
definitely,
we'll see. I'll tell you, if he's in any way, shape, or form on the broadcast at all, if they find a way to bring Michael Waltrip in, he's starting to
take that role of his brother.
Yeah, he got so excited about Ryan Newman today.
Ooh.
And I'm like, it's Ryan. Granted, he did get his strategic top 5 finish again. But
well, I tell you, I'm not going to take it easy on Steve Letarte either.
No.
He's going to say weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like, wave by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got 4 cars taking the wave by.
I mean, the go around. And Jeff Burton, I think
he's just so opinionated.
That, and I've noticed when like the camera's not on Jeff Burton, he slips into the Ward Burton accent. There was one time where he was doing an interview.
You can't understand the damn thing Ward Burton said.
Exactly. No. They were doing an interview with Jeff, and he speaks obviously clearer than Ward, but at one point they asked him a question. He goes, "Well, the car." I was like, "Man, just let it out, Jeff. You know what's in your blood."
Ward
Burton, Caterpillar. For Bill Davis.
I would love to hear Bill Elliot in a broadcast booth, though.
Well, the thing of it is, Chase, we worked with him so hard to try to get him up to this point in his career, and I'm just so proud of him. I wish we would have put him in a Ford, but it's obviously Rick Hendrick. He's got a good source of stuff. But the thing of it is, that is my best NASCAR impression I think ever.
Oh man! Oh God, dang! Tom, that was a really good impression.
I think I tried a Junior Johnson one time. Well, we was in the whiskey business, and then we was in the hog business, and then before you do it, we was in the racing business, and we had so those are my
right. It's staying.
So those are my 2 impressions for the week. I'm gonna have to work on the others.
The hog business.
Because anytime you talk to him, he's always in some kind of business. The race business.
You gotta say sandwich like him.
How does he say sandwich?
It's just 2 very distinct words to him. A sandwich.
A sandwich. But Junior, we love you, man, and Bill, we love you too. So
I don't know if I can do the green white checker.
I was going to say, man. we hand it over to Colton for our green, white, checkered.
Whew. All right, Tom. Start with you with the green flag question, and it's just going to piggyback off the race today. Seeing what you've seen out of Harvick through the first 4 races, what's your number of wins for him this year?
I'm going to try to be realistic. I'm going to put Corey's theory aside, but to me, he will. I see him getting 7.
7
wins.
Corey?
9.
That's a heap of wins, but I was actually thinking 9 too.
I'll say 9 at least.
Yeah.
God.
Who was the last driver to get a double digit?
Was Jimmy Johnson in 2007.
And I think the last driver to actually win a race was Richard Petty.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So it was Jimmy, and how many did he get?
He had 10.
He had 10.
That was the first time since Jeff Gordon in 1997, 10 years before that.
When he won 13?
He won 13 in 98.
Oh.
And I'm praying for it to happen again.
All right. Second question, our white flag question, a little tougher, takes a little more thought. What's it going to take for a Michael Waltrip Racing turnaround? Because you just saw today the 15, the 55 just really weren't a factor at all.
New drivers.
All around?
All around. New drivers. I say go ahead and put Brett Moffitt in to one of those cars and run a Xfinity program to find another guy to replace whoever's left.
Okay.
So
I don't know what it's going to take. Because in this sport, whenever you're down, it's so hard to get back up.
It's almost like a Hail Mary.
I mean, you look at Roush. Look how Roush is doing. Man, I don't know if they'll ever recover. And poor Tony Stewart.
Man, I was rooting for him to try to get a top 10.
You saw him. How many times did they say he was giving the chrome horn to somebody today? I mean, he was just pushing people out of the way, trying to get a good finish. But well, were you finished with what you were going to say, Corey?
Well, yeah, because I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take.
I'm gonna back up just a little bit. I think Michael Waltrip made a mistake having David Runeman leave the 00 car because they were finally getting some steam together. He won at Chicago, and I think it was his final year, and he was stringing together top 10s week in and week out. He was fast, and he had been with them from the beginning, and I thought he was just a good pillar for that organization. And then, they could have brought in Boyer and done another team, but
the second blow, I think, or the latest blow to them was the whole controversy at Richmond, the whole almost team orders thing.
Yeah, yeah, another controversy, but
where the Napa sponsorship left.
Yeah, and then losing Truex in the 56. He was another one. It seems like they'll get somebody and finally get them going. They'll be racing hard in for wins every year, and
I also will add into that Rodney Childers.
Yeah.
So
pretty much they just need to stop getting rid of the good people that they find.
Michael probably needs to just dump in a car and just race the whole season himself. Because he did pretty decent at Daytona.
Yeah, well, maybe. All right, our checkered flag question. Who's going to be your surprise driver of the week next week? If you could think of somebody that might surprise us all, shock us, maybe get a top 5 or steal a win, who would it be?
It's hard to say, man, because Corey's theory, if it does become a law of physics, I'm gonna say David Reagan.
David, yeah.
As he said when he took over this ride, he's hoping that his tenure with this team will open up some other doors. And I think he's a talented driver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, gosh, any of the rest of the field who can win the race. But if I really had to pick a big dark horse, I'd say David Reagan, since that's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say David Reagan as well, because just being in the car that won it last year, he's a good driver. He's won a race before, or a couple races before.
2, yeah.
So he knows where victory lane is. You know, he knows what it takes to win and good equipment. So, you know, who knows?
Mark it down. This was the guy I kind of waffled back and forth with for my pick, even though I went with Harvick. 78. Truex, he's fast. He's good. He can win at these tracks. They're getting good finishes every week.
If I were Richard Childress, because I know they have an alliance together, he's down to 3 cars now, the 3, the 31, and the 27.
Yeah,
I would absorb that organization and make him an RCR driver, because I think that would be great for Richard Childress, because to me, Richard Childress is kind of like on a slippery slope right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of got all his eggs in the 3 basket.
Yeah.
Right now, and I mean, Menard's not a bad driver, but he's not a championship winning driver, and Newman is just damn lucky.
Yeah.
So,
well, that wraps up this edition of the Tom Clark Weekly Speed Report. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at TCW Speed Report and email us your questions at tcwspeedreport@gmail.com. This is your host, Tom Clark, signing out.